Honda is a car maker most buyers associate with cleverly designed family hatchbacks and efficient SUVs, but at its heart it's a high-performance brand with a racing heritage in Formula One, a popular line of Type R performance models and a back catalogue that includes the first NSX supercar, which went toe-to-toe with Ferrari when it was launched in 1990. That NSX survived, with revisions, until 2005. But we've had to wait until 2016 to see Honda launch another one. That's right, Honda has finally built a second-generation NSX supercar. This new one, which might as well have been beamed down from space, so far removed does it look from a regular Honda, features carbon fiber and aluminium construction, and a cutting-edge petrol-electric hybrid powertrain that immediately sets it apart from fiercely talented rivals such as the Audi R8, McLaren 570S and Porsche 911 Turbo S. How far apart? Well, while each of those established competitors gets by with a conventional petrol engine alone, the NSX is powered by a twin-turbo V6 combined with no less than 3 electric motors, a 9-speed automatic gearbox and torque vectoring all-wheel drive. From an engineering point of view, it is really quite astonishing. The supercar that's easy to use. The old NSX was perhaps the first user-friendly supercar, so easy to drive you could use it every day. The new NSX has taken up this mantle with conviction. The steering is light and quick at low speeds but slower on the motorway, so it doesn't feel fidgety. An innovative braking system delivers huge stopping power but is still easily modulated around town. And you get clever magnetic dampers that offer serene comfort or race car flat cornering, depending on the driving mode. Stars of the show, however, are definitely the engine and all those electric motors. In fact, only the Porsche 918 hypercar has ever deployed this kind of drivetrain configuration before, and the NSX costs about 6 times less than that. Using such a high-tech solution is very on-brand for Honda, especially as a marque lacking in traditional supercar prestige, but it also brings a unique driving experience to the lower reaches of the supercar sector, including the ability to drive silently on electric power alone for short distances. Striking looks a strong point. Quiet running may seem at odds with supercar ownership, but you'll attract enough attention at low speeds via the space-age styling. Though it may look futuristic and outlandish, all the scoops and vents on the Honda NSX have been sculpted by the advanced powertrain's hunger for air, which it desperately needs in order to keep cool. This is where the everyday proposition of the NSX starts to lose a bit of traction. Those massive side vents add to the NSX's already sizable girth, and the door mirrors need to be on lengthy stalks to see around them, so they stick out a long way. Narrow roads are instantly awkward as a result. On top of which, supercars are all much less belligerent these days than they were when the first NSX hit the streets. Has this new car's USP been eroded? Review to find out whether this new Honda NSX deserves your attention. 1 petrol engine, 3 electric motors. Total output is 573 horsepower and 646 Newton-meters. 0 to 62 miles per hour in under 3 seconds, helping this Honda stand out among rivals, as well as being key to its driving experience, is the highly complex hybrid powertrain. But make no mistake, this is not some kind of eco-special. The trio of electric motors that supplement the NSX's conventional 3.5-liter V6 petrol engine are on hand to improve performance and, literally, electrify the handling. So while the 573 horsepower and 646 Newton-meters of torque the NSX produces is broadly in line with the amount of power provided by petrol-only rivals like the McLaren 570S and Porsche 911 Turbo S, the way that power is delivered is very different. How the hybrid system works and what it can do. 2 of the electric motors are used to drive the front wheels, with the third integrated into the 9-speed automatic gearbox and assisting the petrol engine to drive the wheels at the rear. This gives the NSX all-wheel drive, while the front motors also allow you to travel short distances on electric power alone, using what Honda calls quiet mode. Handy for not disturbing the neighbors late at night or early in the morning. Their real benefit, however, is performance. Electric motors produce maximum torque instantly, and this gives the NSX the sort of zero-delay takeoff from standstill you get in a Tesla Model S. The difference here is that you also benefit from the added charisma of a twin-turbo 6-cylinder petrol engine, for while Honda uses the third motor to improve the petrol's low-speed response, as soon as the revs rise enough to get the turbos going, the V6 explodes into action and begins to dominate. The result of all this electricity is ferocious in gear acceleration, accompanied by a manic soundtrack of mechanical whines, turbo whistles and piped-in induction roar. Honda says 0 to 62 miles per hour takes under 3 seconds. That's as specific as it gets, and top speed is 191 miles per hour. Simply put, the NSX feels incredibly fast and urgent, thanks to the almost total lack of lag between flexing the accelerator and forward motion. Integrated Dynamics System Driving Mode Selector, helping tune the whole experience, is the Integrated Dynamics System, a fancy name for a drive mode selector, offering quiet, sport, sport plus and track settings. This adjusts the chassis and powertrain, including the steering, brakes, throttle, stability control, dampers, engine, transmission, and all-wheel drive system. Quiet mode gives a couple of miles of all-electric driving and hushed starts, limiting the engine speed to 4,000 revolutions per minute and closing the exhaust flaps too. Move up to sport mode and you can rev all the way to the 7,500 revolutions per minute radar line, and the exhaust gains more volume. You also get intake noise piped into the cabin. Sport Plus gives you faster gear shifts, more aggressive throttle response and even more noise. Finally, there is track mode, which, as the name suggests, feels a bit too much for road use. This unlocks extra features such as launch control and relaxes the electronic stability control system. 9-speed automatic gearbox. The gearbox is happy to slur its changes together for refinement and comfort if you're just cruising, but becomes much sharper and faster in its sportier modes. It works fine in automatic mode but is sometimes a little too keen to hold on to high revs. You can overcome this by taking manual control and using the paddle shifters behind the steering wheel. Complex powertrain adds weight. Clever systems in place to flatter you, not as organic an experience as before. There's a lot going on here to help keep you pointing in the right direction. The Honda NSX's all-wheel drive system provides massive agility in a way that feels quite different to anything else we've driven. The electric motors on the front axle of the NSX can trim your angle for you when you're coasting or even on the brakes, meaning bold entry speeds with late braking will be met with a spooky dart towards the apex. It's quite a compelling experience. Sharp steering, little body roll. While comparisons to the old NSX aren't especially valid, given that design went out of production over a decade before this new car was launched and originally dates back to 1990, it is interesting to note the way steering has changed. Compared to the original, the new NSX requires far less effort at the wheel, with very little need to move your hands from the quarter to 3 position even in tight maneuvers. Gladly, it's actually a well-judged, variable ratio setup, meaning that despite this twisty road gymnastics, at motorway speeds it reacts less to twitches of the wheel, making the NSX feel stable when you're traveling quickly. With little body roll and those clever motors, the NSX turns in with remarkable savagery, holds its line well around a corner, and then blasts out the other side with the instant torque of its electric powertrain working in harmony with the V6 petrol engine. As a result, it's very fast, and easy to manage if you're in a hurry, but it isn't overflowing with involvement. Certainly there's a sensation that the Honda is doing more of the driving than you are. Very clever brakes. The NSX uses an unusual electronic servo between the pedal and the brake calipers, allowing the car to modulate the amount of braking power depending on the circumstances. In general, bitey supercar brakes perform well on the track but no around town, while normal road car brakes offer great modulation but don't slow you down fast enough on a circuit. This Honda system combines the best of both by doling out the amount of stopping power it thinks you need based on your speed. Because the pedal is not physically connected to the brakes, we were concerned it would offer no feel, and would be further corrupted by the regenerative system that recoups braking energy to recharge the hybrid system's batteries. Yet the NSX's brakes offer great power without feeling unnatural. A remarkable and commendable achievement. Great ergonomics and driving position. Lack supercar quality in some areas. The interior is not the Honda NSX's strongest area. While there are some nice forms and shapes, particularly the swervy door handles, the cabin doesn't really reflect the supercar price tag, with some switchgear looking like it's been borrowed from the Civic hatchback. Chief quality offenders are the plastic, clicky gearshift paddles. Particularly problematic because you'll be using them a lot. They just don't deliver the kind of satisfying feel or action we would expect from this kind of machine. Other gripes include the shiny silver plastic dotted around the cabin, which tends to reflect sunlight into your eyes, and the piano black buttons fitted in place of a conventional automatic gearbox shift lever, which instantly attract fingerprints. Well-placed controls, but spec the reversing camera for all that the cabin feels cheap, The NSX's fundamental ergonomics are great. Everything is nicely within reach, particularly the drive mode selector, which is just a handspan from the steering wheel, allowing you to make easy use of the car's differing personalities. Similarly, the driving position is spot on, with comfortable supportive seats that hold you in place during hard driving and a steering wheel that adjusts for both reach and rake. And though the wheel is an irregular shape, the speed of the steering itself is such that you rarely need to move your hands from the quarter to 3 position. The instrument cluster uses a digital display in place of old-fashioned analog dials. This is crisp, blur-free, and changes color and emphasis depending on the driving mode. Forward visibility through the windscreen is excellent, thanks to the thin A-pillars. But you'll want to spec the reversing camera because the view out the back is considerably more restricted. Great tried at low speed and while cruising. Quiet mode means silent running comfort levels are usually compromised in high-performance cars like this, but it was a surprising strength of the original NSX, and pleasingly Honda has carried the tradition over to the new version. Helping the new cars cause their exotic-sounding magnet or helical suspension dampers. This technology, used by Ferrari and Audi, amongst others, is now in its 3rd generation, and features magnetically charged fluid that can vary its viscosity, meaning the NSX can have a firmer, sportier ride or a softer, more cost-setting setup. The quietest supercar. In addition to this suspension comfort, you can also turn the noise levels right down with quiet mode. This uses the electric motors to drive silently until the batteries run out, usually after only a couple of miles, but even when the petrol engine is running, the NSX is much quieter in this setting, as it restricts the exhaust and makes the automatic gearbox change up much earlier in the rev range. Quiet mode is a substantial 25 decibels quieter than the raciest track mode. It turns the NSX into an effortless cruiser, suitable for fuss-free long-distance motorway driving in a manner not many rivals can match. One trim to choose from. Standard kit not that generous. The Honda NSX comes in a single trim level, but this can be upgraded with a number of optional extras. Standard Honda NSX equipment. For a start, you get 3 solid paint choices highlighted by matte black front spoiler, rear diffuser and side sills. There are 19-inch wheels on the front and 20-inch wheels on the rear. Inside there's a leather-wrapped steering wheel, Alcantara instrument binnacle and sporty black headlining, plus dual-zone climate control. You sit on leather and Alcantara seats with manual adjustment, while the 7.0-inch Honda connected infotainment system features both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, plus 9 speakers. Optional extras. Optional paint colors include silver or grey metallic, plus a white pearlescent finish. Most eye-catching, however, is the pair of special Adaro finishes, Novell Blue or Valencia Red, which cost considerably more but look superb. Want to complement your paint job with some carbon fiber? There's lots to choose from. Meanwhile, the standard steel brake discs can be replaced with carbon ceramic items for increased stopping performance, and there's a wide choice of alloy wheel finishes. Inside you can swap the headliner for an Alcantara one and add full leather seats, with power adjustment and heating. Upgrades for the infotainment system include sat-nav and a CD player. You also have to pay extra for parking sensors. It's unlikely your own cap will get to fully crash test Honda's limited production NSX. But the frame of the car is very stiff and features impact-absorbing structures front and rear, while the hybrid components, batteries and high-voltage systems, have been integrated in a way that's designed to limit dangers to passengers and responding emergency services should the worst happen. There are driver and passenger front airbags, a driver's knee airbag, side impact airbags and side curtain airbags. Electronic stability control is naturally fitted as standard, alongside tire pressure monitors, while the intelligence of the all-wheel drive chassis is such that it should help you avoid making too many mistakes. Storage space inside is limited to a reasonably sized glove box and a littered box containing the USB port behind your left elbow in the center console, plus a small cubby hole in front of it. There aren't any door pockets, save for a small recess by the handle, and 2 cup holders can be clipped into the side of the center console via a rectangular recess. Unfortunately, that doesn't leave a lot of room for your passenger's right thigh. Boot space has suffered a bit in light of all that extra tech behind the bulkhead, so you get just 110 liters to cram your luggage into. The exhaust runs under this area, too, which means there's not only a bulge in the middle of the boot floor, it also gets rather hot. You can open the boot using the key fob, a switch in the cabin, or by pressing a small button down and to the right-hand side of the Honda badge.